The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's having a fan-friggin-tastic Thursday. We are one day past Medicare, so very excited about that. We can put all of our efforts into ACA. Lots of exciting things going on, lots of business being written, and we are having some hurdles, as everybody knows, and today we want to discuss some of those hurdles. Most of the hurdles that we're seeing, and we're going to talk about resolution today, is surrounding billing and surrounding the auto migration. So I want to make sure that we spend some time talking a little bit about that, addressing any questions that anyone has on how to resolve those issues. But really what we have to understand is we're going to have issues no matter what. And at the end of the day, we've got 8 days left. That's right, 8 days left until the 15th comes and goes. And we have to make sure that we are doing everything that we can in order to write as much business as we can, because it will go and we will be gone, and then heaven only knows what's going to happen. So as we closed Medicare yesterday, I just want to touch on it briefly because we still have an opportunity for the people that have had plans that have been dissolved. Now, when I say plans that have been dissolved, I'm talking about particular locations. I'm talking about Pinellas County. I'm talking about Broward County. I'm talking about the counties where the local PPO is no longer available. HMO plans have been terminated from several different areas, as we know. Maybe you didn't get to everybody. That could happen. And if you did not get to everyone, please be advised that you still have time. Now, those people can access an SEP and continue to enroll in their plan, and that's going to be even after January the 1st. So because of that, you want to make sure that you're continuing to reach out to these people. You want to have the tone of buyer's remorse. You want to make sure that if they selected Aetna or they selected United Healthcare, they know what they're getting into. And remember that if they made absolutely no plan selection and they are in a county in which their policy is being terminated, they will be dropped to original Medicare. That's right, original Medicare. No MAPD plan at that point. Therefore, you have an obligation to contact all of your members, make sure that they know that they are now dropped to original Medicare if they did not make a plan selection, because I can almost hear the phone call now. You're talking to little Miss Jones, and little Miss Jones is like, well, I thought I didn't have to do anything. And in most cases, she's right. However, this year it has, and there have been a mountain of changes, and because of those changes, they needed to do something. Now, hopefully that's not going to impact all of us in too much of a negative way, but if you saw your book going out the back door, if you did not manage your book of business appropriately, then you do need to make sure that you are spending this time between now and 1/31 making sure that you are not only selling ACA, but you're managing your book of Medicare business. Just to give you a little insight, here at A&B, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing an outreach program that's going to include mailers. We're going to be sending out emails. We're also going to be calling as a retention strategy for anyone who did not enroll, who anyone did not make a selection, or may have bought another policy, so that way we can get them back to blue. At least for the people that told us, no, go scratch. Well, we've scratched that itch. Now we want to see if we can tell them why they need Florida Blue once again. Not going to win everyone, but however, if you pick up another 2 or 3% of your book of business that might have gone out the back door, you know, we want to make sure that we can close that back door up so that way nobody's leaving. All right. So let's talk a little bit about ACA. That is really where we're at right now. We need all hands on deck for a focus on the Affordable Care Act because, as I said, time is running out. Nice reminder on your screen here, only 8 days left. So some of you have asked some questions about what policies need to be renewed and what don't. All of the ACA policies need to have a renewal completed, and that is if you want to be compensated. Compensation is really going to be driven by an active renewal process, as we know. And because of that, you must get in front of everyone. But if they have dental, if they have accident, if they have critical illness, there's nothing that needs to be done with those policies. Now, you may want to use your opportunity when you're calling your book of business, when you're out there doing outreach, when you're talking to people, making sure that you're using those ancillary products as an opportunity to add to revenues. I would strongly suggest that. As we know, the US Able product line is very good, very low cost, and our members, especially in B or C variants, love cash. So using the terminology of, if I could put cash in your pocket in the event of an accident, does that make sense? If you look at the maximum out of pocket, I hear all the time, well, it's a C variant. They're only paying $20 a month. They don't need it. No, that's nonsense. You've talked yourself out of that sale. You must make sure that you're introducing those products, because as we know, as compensation has changed, that means that revenue streams have changed. You must add to it, and how else is a better way for you to do it than your current book of business? Now, dental is not going to get anybody a new Lamborghini. However, dental does add to those revenue streams. The accident, the critical illness, these products, cash-paying products is something that a lower-income individual who doesn't have any savings, who doesn't have the opportunity to pay their bills if something happens, they can't miss work, they don't have money put on the side if something should occur, making sure that they have at least, at a minimum, the accident protection is really your due diligence. That's something that you should be doing. You have a responsibility to your members to at least introduce it. And what you have to remember that is, if you don't, someone else is going to, and I'm not saying that as a threat, but if they go into Florida Blue Store, the Blue Stores are very good at service, but they're going to ask the people that come in there, hey, did you get one of our dental plans? Hey, did you get one of our accident plans? Now, hopefully your customers have a relationship with you, and they'll say, I'll get that from my agent. However, just be aware, you don't want to leave those monies on the table. So as we talk about monies on the table, let's talk a little bit about some of the billing issues that are surrounding us right now and some of the issues that we have. And I don't have all of the answers. I have been stomping my feet like a little child to leadership at Florida Blue, trying to get answers, and I'm getting kind of the runaround. And I don't mean that, I don't think that they mean to be doing that. I just think that there's a lot of moving pieces that are affecting people. So I want to talk about those pieces today. So the first piece of business is your customers may be getting communications, and those communications may not be in line with the work that you've already done. Now, when I brought this to leadership last week, we got some extra documentation that what we're also doing is we're really researching this. And what is the scenario? So here it is. So my customer did a renewal with me in November, or did a new piece of business with me in November. And let's address the new piece of business first. This particular client, an example, could have had Humana before, could have had another carrier before. And what has happened is they have been auto-migrated by CMS. Now, CMS may have auto-migrated that particular member to a non-Blue Cross carrier or Blue Cross. However, the communications with a different carrier is not happening. So CMS is not telling AM Better, if they were assigned to AM Better, that they purchased a Blue Cross policy. And therefore, they're going to get communications from AM Better upon that auto assignment that says, hey, thank you, we want you to have your business, and here's a bill from AM Better. And then the customer's going to call you and say, what the hell is this? I didn't sign up for AM Better. And that's a little troubling, but you know what? You can deal with it. The more troubling piece that I am really trying to get clear, definitive answers on for all of us, and hopefully I'll have them no later than next week. If we get them beforehand, we'll communicate that out via email, is if I did a renewal for my member, or I did a new piece of business, I found some guy on the street, and I say, hey, great, you need Florida Blue. He takes a Florida Blue policy. He had Coventry before, for example. So we write him a policy. He's good. We've got it. Then all of a sudden, in the infinite wisdom of Florida Blue and CMS, he gets a bill for a different premium amount than I had elected. Well, why? That doesn't make any sense, but that's happening. What's happening is that they are not scrubbing internally inside Florida Blue because of CMS has told them that they're not allowed to. Well, that's stupid, and I agree that that is absolutely stupid. Because what's happening is now, let's say Mark did an application for Gigi. Gigi is enrolled. She had Coventry before. She got a plan, and we've got a great plan for her, and it's got a nice premium. Now all of a sudden they're auto-migrated by CMS to a zero premium. Now they're going to get a bill for the zero premium, but they still haven't gotten your bill. Well, why is that? Doesn't make any sense. So we're working through that timing issue. But I brought that to leadership, and leadership told me that CMS made a rule that they're not allowed to communicate or scrub that information off of their current enrollments, which I think is hogwash, quite frankly. So you do need to understand the talking points for this. If your customer says, hey, I got a bill for an amount that is not what I elected, you told me my plan was $16 and I got a bill for nothing, why is that? Unfortunately, that is going to happen, and you're going to ask why, and I think I've just explained it to you. So have the talking points, so when you're speaking with your member, you just tell them it's a CMS issue. You are elected on this particular plan. I've got confirmation. I've got my IST application. If you are concerned that there is foul play, and I remind you that there may be foul play, you need to make sure that you go and check the marketplace application to show that the Florida Blue plan is the plan selected. I know it's an extra step, but it's a good way to make sure that your commissions are safe and sound. So make sure that you understand that talking point. Other billing issues that we're dealing with that you may be experiencing are when a customer is calling into Florida Blue. Typically, it's in this same scenario, they're not able to identify the member. Now, why is this happening? Well, that is an internal thing with Florida Blue, and it's a communication piece between CMS with what we call an 834 file. And when that communication is coming back from Florida Blue and going back out, we are seeing some of that happen. Now, the majority of the time, we can identify it back down to some other reason. So it's not just a rampant scenario that it's happening to everyone. There is typically other factors at play. Some of those factors are including, but not limited to, an SEP piece of business that was then renewed before the policy went into force. What do I mean by that? Customer walks into your office and that customer says to you, well, I've got a plan, I really want to get a plan here, I just lost my group insurance, and we did an effective date of September 1, or we did an effective date of October. And maybe it was late in October and we did it for November. And then you did a renewal before that policy was placed in force. That has caused some stress. That has caused some disappearing of people. Remember, because we're dealing with the government, communicating with Florida Blue, communicating back to the government, there are issues, as we can imagine. So very important that you're comfortable with that. Make sure that you know how to explain that away as well. So other billing issues that are coming up really are just, they can't find you. We've discussed that. The wrong bill being sent, that's typically because of auto assignment and passive renewals. So let's brings us up to passive renewals. Well, it's December the 8th, okay? As we're looking at December the 8th today, I think that's today's date, right? Yeah. So all the passive renewals are done. So you're going to talk to your customer. You make an outbound call. Somebody calls into your office. You go and log out to the marketplace and look at their account, and holy Hannah, there's a plan selected and they didn't do anything. How could that be? Well, that could be because they have already been passively renewed. The plan has been selected for them. And you must go ahead and go into that policy, make sure that you get into Florida Blue. When you log in, and you're going to report a life event. And when you report that life event, you are going to make sure that your NPN number is listed in there, and you're going to complete that application. So, for example, as we've talked about, when you see a plan selected, don't be alarmed. It's not that there has been any foul play or wrongdoing, but if they said they've talked to someone and they didn't authorize a renewal, that may be a little bit of a different story. Really, where the problem lies is that people are going in there, they're seeing that this is completed, they said, I didn't select that plan, that's the wrong subsidy, that's not the way things are. you need to fix it. And that's where you report a life event and then fix it. So remember, we're searching for our application, and when we search for that application, we have to make sure that the plan is selected, and that's when we're going to go through. Now I can't find maybe they deleted me already. Yep, it might have been gone. They might have found out my wrongdoings here, or I have to clear my cookies. So we won't be showing this demonstration today. I'll try one more time. See what happens. Nope. So basically when you get in there, you're going to have to understand that. Now, what happens if you get into the application and then when you're in that application, the information is wrong? Well, how could that be? Well, that's because they may have called the marketplace throughout the year. You may say, oh, this is my customer, and then I go in there and Mark Carbellano's name is on it. How could that be? Well, that's because they may have called me throughout the year, and maybe they did a change in income or a change in circumstance. Things happen that are outside of your control. If they called the marketplace to change information, that could effectively have changed their marketplace application. So income can be different. We also are experiencing where there are other changes to the household, and then after we're doing some fact-finding, we find out that the customer may have called the marketplace throughout the year, made those changes, therefore negatively impacting your application process now, so it may need to be adjusted. So just don't be alarmed. Get in there, report your life event, make sure they have it. If they've already done their 2017 renewal, there's no reason for them to do it again. If they're in the right policy, move on to new business. No reason to rob Peter to pay Paul. If something is done already, just make sure it's done, okay? Ask them they're done, they're in the right plan, you check their doctors, you check their meds, good, perfect, move on. There is enough business out there for everyone that you really don't want to be wasting your time tripping over your own feet, and you got to be really careful. We've internally done some things where we've got agent lists so our teams know who everybody is, so that way if we get somebody on the phone, we're doing the right thing. Hey, do you know this guy? They look at their agent list, they see it's one of our team members, and then they move on. So you really have to make sure as well, the biggest tone that I have with our team here at A&B is you make sure that when you are done, your customer knows they are done, okay? And you tell them you don't need to talk to anybody else. You don't need to talk to anyone whatsoever. And it's very important that if you have any questions, you call me, okay? Because they're going to get calls from other agencies. They're going to get calls from other people. There's going to be people that are doing wrongdoing out there. And if they have already completed it, you need to make sure they know they're done. So Bill Askins calls me on the phone. We complete his renewal. I'm going to tell Bill very clearly, Bill, you know my name, Mark Carbellano. Here's my phone number. Someone calls you from the marketplace. Someone calls you from Blue Cross. Someone claiming that you need X, Y, and Z. Just talk to me. There is too much funny business going on out there that you have to make sure your customer knows who you are, and your customer has to have a relationship with you. That is of the utmost importance. And I know most of us on this call that are successful are doing that on a regular basis. But the regular things that we need to deal with, and the ones that are causing the most stress right now, are these auto migrations, the auto migrations that are getting people another bill, and then these people having another bill, they're like, what is going on? They're confused. So you want to manage those expectations when you talk to them. If you're completing a renewal now or you're talking to a member and they had a different carrier, say, hey, if you get something in the mail from AvMed, you get something, from AM Better, from Molina, you could just don't even worry about it, disregard it. You could throw it out for all I care. But because you are enrolled with Florida Blue, we've collected your premium payment, you're done to do. Done to do. So let's talk about people who are making changes. Another headache that we're having, call it buyer's remorse, call it people not listening, call it the agent not doing their due diligence when they're completing the application. It's people calling and said, hey, I enrolled in a Blue Select plan yesterday. You checked all of my doctors. I went online, and now I find out that my doctor, my other my other third gastroenterologist is not in the program. Okay, well, you didn't tell me about that, doctor. So I want to change my plan. Now I want to go to my blue. So if I need to make that change, what's going to happen? Well, I just want to manage your expectations that it's going to be a little bit of a mess. Now, any changes, let's first talk about the easy changes. I forgot that I had a spouse. I forgot that I had a son. I forgot that I had a daughter. I forgot that I needed to add my girlfriend and my wife to my policy. Any of those scenarios that come up, as long as they're staying within the network, if you've processed the payment already, report the life event, make the change, and you do not have to collect a premium payment because they're staying within network. And that money that you've already collected will apply to the policy and the H number as long as you're not changing the primary applicant. You're keeping things the way they are. I'm just adding another family member. I'm just changing income. I'm staying within the same family of plan. If there is an increase or decrease in premium, just process the application back into Blue Cross. When you do that processing back into the Blue Cross portal, don't collect any money. They'll receive a bill or they'll receive a credit for the difference. But what happens with my other scenario, when we have collected money, I originally started with a My Blue, now they want to go to Blue Select or whatever. They want to change their network. I want to manage your expectations that it's going to be a bit of a mess. Here's some of the ways that you can resolve that problem because I know that we're having it. So that happens, changing networks, collected money. If I have put my payment out in a future date, if I have scheduled the payment in the future, you have a couple of choices. Number one, call agent services, request a cancellation of the future payment, and get a reference number. Repeat, get a reference number when you call Blue Cross to do that. Option two is going to be process the new application, collect premium, and if the customer has the financial ability to pay again, and then understand that it's going to take them 30 to 45 days to get that refund because they have to wait until after that scheduled premium payment is there. When that scheduled premium payment, this is what's supposed to happen, mind you. When that scheduled premium payment is supposed to come out, it won't come out. They'll have nothing to apply it to, and then they will start processing the refund. Option three, they can request a cancellation of that premium themselves, but I think that that is opening up Pandora's box, and is the least of my three favorite options. My favorite option is to call agent services, request them to cancel that, and get a reference number. So I've heard a few people say, I've called agent services to do that, and they won't do it. You can just tell them to switch them to a paper bill. That would work as well, but you just need to try and stop that payment. Other solutions are going to be to put the new plan on a credit card for that first premium payment. They could contact their bank and they could tell them that they don't want that payment withdrawn. So they can do things on their side as well. But what you have to understand is it's going to be a mess. There's no good answer. There's not going to be there's just too many moving pieces. So that's what you need to understand because that's happening more often than we would like it to be. I would make sure that you are doing your due diligence at time of application, making sure that they know that if they want to make changes, that is a problem moving down the road. All right? So other billing issues that are occurring are happening on the IVR. Now, what's an IVR? That's the phone number when you call Blue Cross and you say, okay, I want to make a payment. Now, there was an agent service bulletin that was buried back months ago that agent services had to pull out of somewhere, we won't say where, to find it so that way we had it so we could see it. And I wanted to bring that up today because the problem that is occurring is really surrounding when people are trying to call and make a payment. And when they're calling to make the payment, and this only is affected on the IVR, if the zip code that is on the application is not matched the billing zip code when they are where they're trying to make that payment, the credit card, then it is not going to work. And if that doesn't work, what happens is they are then at that point going to have to send in a payment or use a different payment methodology to complete that payment. And when I say a different payment methodology, they're going to have to go out to the marketplace to make that payment, or they're going to have to do it in some other way. So the agent service bulletin here, those of you who can see it on the screen, it's A16. It's back in October. It seems like a lifetime ago. A16222 talks a little bit about paying with this IVR. If the addresses do not match, they can pay with their debit card by calling the number on the back of their ID card, speak to customer service. They can also go to Navarro. They can go to CVS or Dollar General locations. However, that is not for a binder. The failed binder payments is where people are experiencing an issue as well, because they have maybe tried to make that binder payment and then it has failed. Now, if that payment has failed, they cannot call. The person on the phone can't take that binder. What they have to do, and you can see it here, a service advocate cannot take a payment by phone until the invoice cycle has run. So we're getting a lot of calls that are saying, oh, my client called, they say that they can't make the payment. What's going on? There's no invoice. On December the 13th, all the invoices will be generated that were in this scenario, and then they will be able to pay. So that is where we were having this issue. We found out, and we've got it. We've got the good information now. So at least that way you can inform your clients appropriately. Other than those scenarios on billing, I don't really think we're seeing too many. Just reading some of the questions here, and you know, if someone needs to pay, of course, they can go out to the marketplace. They can look up their application, and then they can find it from there. We have shared with you a couple of payment documents that you have available. And you guys should have those. It's called the billing cheat sheet. How to make payments. There's just a couple of screenshots missing from here. Haven't had time to update it. Shame on me. But know that you can get out to the marketplace. You can log out, log in, go out to Blue Cross, get out to the marketplace, find their plan, and make a payment there. Okay, very important that you understand that process. They also have the opportunity to use the pay, view, bill binder option. So you can do that, but you will need the contract number for that. And that is going to be affected by this whole, I've paid, my payment failed, I need to wait for an invoice. So understand that as well. So the last billing issue that we're really seeing is people who have no bills. Yeah, that's a problem. You think that collecting money would be the easiest part of things that we do. In the transition from HPS to Blue Cross, a lot of people that were on a paper bill cycle got moved to electronic billing. So what you just need to understand is that with those changes that have occurred, they may not have gotten a bill, but they still have to pay. So those people can log into their member portal on the Blue Cross website, and they can pay through the member portal. They can also call Blue Cross because they have a current Blue Cross policy. They can call Blue Cross and make their December premium payment. But let's use our time wisely, and let's make sure that you understand that if they are on Marketplace, they've got a 90-day grace period. So they've got time to make that premium payment. As long as they know that they haven't made that payment and they're not spending it on Christmas gifts, they will be okay. Okay? Important that we're comfortable with that. See if we have some questions in here that I can address. I have a question. Is a couple that is filing taxes together, one wants Florida Blue but the other one wants AM Better. What is the best way of doing that? Talking them both into Blue Cross. That is the best way to do that, Graciela. Because you can't put your NPN number on an AM Better policy. So you need to do your due diligence, and you need to sell them both Florida Blue. If you need to separate those policies into two separate plans or into groups, you do that, and the only way that that is supported is through the member account login on healthcare.gov. That is the same way that you would separate a multiple tax household, an adult mom. Remember, we can't put two kids on a same plan. They have to be separated into groups to optimize the subsidy. And everyone should understand what I mean by that. And that is only acceptable through the member account portal. And there is an option when you're selecting the plan to separate them into groups. And that's the only way to do that. If an active renewal to the same policy is done, then they have been on auto pay, but the billing zip code does not match the app. No payment was collected. Will auto pay continue? We'll have to wait and see, Peter. If the money doesn't draft out of their account, then the answer would be no. They should maybe want to update that information with their account. They may want to call Blue Cross and update their billing information so that way it doesn't negatively impact their auto pay. On-off marketplace network plan changes. The system is being forced people to do debit or EFT mode for ongoing payments. There is no opportunity to ask for paper bills for future billing. Fine print says they can change their mode later. Is this what others is experiencing? No, I don't really understand what you're saying, Martha. I apologize. On-off are you talking about? Okay. On an off-marketplace network plan change, the system is forcing people to do a debit card? No, I'm not seeing that at all. Because there is no payments collected on a Florida Blue policy when someone is remaining in the same network. So if I go back into Florida Blue and I'm doing, you have to do manage, and that is where you have to manage the policy. And that is an off-marketplace plan change, what Martha is asking about. Off-market plan change, she's stating that she's being forced to collect premium payment, and I don't agree with that because I'm not experiencing that at all. All right, what other questions do we have? I think we've taken everybody's time enough today. We've got tons of stuff to do, lots of policies to write. Do we have any other questions? Can you recommend the best Blue Options plans that provides outpatient infusion? This is medical pharmacy benefits summary, correct? It doesn't really make too much of a difference on the plan selection for that. The medical pharmacy is typically covered mostly the same on Blue Options. So if we're looking at a Blue Options plan, what the question is surrounding is the medical pharmacy or drugs administered in the doctor's office, as we see here. So let's talk for this for a moment. This has come up the last couple weeks to make sure everybody understands. If I am getting a specialty medication and that specialty medication is administered in the doctor's office, that is going to be a separate situation than my prime. And you have to understand that because it's completely different. If the member is not getting the drug at the retail pharmacy or through mail order, those physician-assisted drugs do not surround a copay or a tier rating. What they would do is they would pay the doctor gets the drug and administered that drug. They pay the service provider a $60 copay on this particular plan that we have in front of us for each time they go and get those drugs administered in the doctor's office. This is not for self-administration of drugs. In addition to the $60 copay that they would pay for that service, they're also going to have to pay the office services for whatever or wherever they are taking care of that administration of those drugs. Intravenous drugs, that applies. Specialty drugs, injectables, that applies. So that is very important that you understand that, because a lot of us are saying, hey, Mark, I'm going to my prime. I can't find the drug on my prime. It's a specialty drug. How come I can't find it on there? Because it is administered by a physician. Well, where can I find that list? Very important that we know where to find that list. We go continue without signing in. It is in the paper formulary where that list is. Let me show you. We're going to find our medicines here. We're going to make sure we're selecting the correct formulary. Remember, VBD, also known as Care Choices, for our Blue Select, Blue Options, and Blue Care, and Value Script for My Blue. I come to the VBD formulary. I can scroll down. Now, if I'm searching for a drug, okay, and it's not finding it here, we can come down here into the Care Choices, and these are physician-administered drugs. So as we can see here, provider-administered specialty medications. These are medications that are got from Walgreens Specialty, CVS Specialty, Caremark Specialty, and it says a list of these medications. I click on that hyperlink and I get this list of medications. If I search for these medications, like Lupron, for example, and I am coming in here, I cannot find that medication. Well, I can find it, but if we go through, we have the kit, we find the kit, they tell us what it is. It's a non-formulary drug because it is administered inside the physician's office. This list is including, but not limiting to, cancer drugs, other medications that are intravenous, but they are administered by a physician. So you'll have to understand that that copay, there is no copay. It's not that they're going to have to pay full price. You have to understand how it works. They are going to be offered that through the administration program at the doctor, $60 per fill, no more than $240 for that month, plus the copay for the service provider. Okay? Good question, though. I'm sure others have the same question. So to be clear, payment question coming in. So to be clear, if a payment is not collected at the time of the binder, they will be allowed to take that after December 13th. I don't know where you get December 13th as a date, Gracia. It's going to be before the 31st. They have to pay before the policy goes into force. They're not going to get their ID cards. They're not going to get any of that stuff until the payment is done. So if your customer is saying, what the hell is going on? I haven't gotten my ID cards. I scheduled a payment with you. Until we receive the money, we're not sending out the ID cards. All right. Couple last questions, and then we're going to let everybody go on. I think that's it, maybe. Do supplement plans cover out of state? Yes. There's no network for a supplement plan. And out of the country for a Plan F. They are changing provider networks for Blue Options and Blue Select. Provider networks changing all the time. That's one thing you can count on. They will change. When do you get an H number if not paid binder? You don't. You need to contact Florida Blue Agent Service Center to get that H number. You're not issued the H number. The H number will be coming on the bill for the member. Okay? That's it. We're done. I think everybody should be ready to go. Let's make this happen. Let's have a great day today. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.